Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. Another edition of Meet the Podcasters. I'm Diane Ray, co-founder of mindbodyspirit.fm, and we've been doing these Facebook Lives because we're so excited to introduce you to our podcasters on the network, and hopefully you'll find a new podcast that you want to immediately hit follow and add to your rotation. So today I'm very excited because we are bringing you a new podcasters to the network, Inside Wink, and I'm going to introduce you to the host, and we're going to get right into it and find out about the podcast. So Inside Wink hosts are Trebek and Alison Martin, and they share heartfelt and thought-provoking conversations on their podcast to explore ways to help make the world a little kinder. And I think we can all agree that's something that we definitely can get behind these days, a little bit more kindness. And each episode, they talk with visionaries and trailblazers and even everyday people, everyday heroes like you, uncovering incredible stories and insights. So today we're going to find out a little bit more and find out what drives them to share the good, which is the tagline of the show. So welcome, ladies, to the Facebook Live here, to our little broadcast. And I'm just going to do a quick introduction of both of you to people who might not be familiar with you. So Jean Trebek is a professional religious science practitioner, Reiki master, and sound healer. And she's been focused on teaching the principles of religious science, which is science of mind, and the application of a lot of spiritual techniques such as meditation and sound healing and affirmative prayer. And Jean continues her family's philanthropic work by overseeing the Trebek Family Foundation, started with her husband, Alex Trebek, and the foundation generously donates to many educational institutions, including international associations and a musk ox farm. And I do want to ask about that. How does that figure into the mix? And Alison Martin is a working actor and writer, and she's won an Emmy for the children's series A Likely Story, which encouraged children to read. And she also garnered another Emmy acting nomination for the Lifetime women's comedy series The World According to Us, and made her Broadway debut playing opposite Nathan Lane in Neil Simon's Laughter on the 23rd Floor. I am a huge Nathan Lane fan. I am so jealous. He must be amazing to work with and just probably so sweet and fun. And Alison's also been in many commercials and has volunteered in the education arena since 2001. So I just wanted to give people the quick background of both of you. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, we're so excited.
This is so great that you're putting this together.
Well, we want to introduce people to Inside Wink and find out about your inspiration for launching the podcast. So what was it that inspired the both of you to get together and create the show?
What do you think?
I think it came from us doing some interviews with people on our website. Inside Wink was first a website, and we really enjoyed that facet of the website, interviewing really amazing people doing good things in the world. So we decided to sort of leave the website and focus on a podcast.
It was just we have met so many amazing people, and we enjoy being together, and we laugh and have a great time. So it just turns into these really friendly, funny conversations with these people that are absolutely amazing. So many people are amazing. You can't even believe it, how great they are.
You've had such great guests and just have uncovered stories that people might never hear, bringing these stories to the public. And I think it's just incredible. And it's such a warm, fun show. And people feel like they're sitting in with you, just hanging out, maybe having a cup of coffee in your kitchen, eavesdropping on the conversation, because it is really warm and friendly. So just tell us, what is the Inside Wink? Is that just like kind of a hidden, I gotcha.
I know. You want to, it's like, I don't know. We hit upon the name, and
you did.
Well,
but you did.
I did. Yeah. But it was like we were eating lunch together, and I'm like, what about Inside Wink? Like, it just sounded sort of interesting and silly, and it means different things sort of to the two of us. And so we always ask people what they think it means. And it's amazing that people, what they think it means really reflects themselves. Do you know? So
Yeah.
it really lets you see into the people. And so I don't know. Do you want to say what you think it means?
I mean, my definition of it has changed over time, but I
Mhm.
think my elevator pitch for Inside Wink would be that the goodness within you and how you're expressing that out in the world.
And for me, it means the good in me sees the good in you. It's sort of like a namaste type thing,
Right.
because I recognize myself
Mhm.
and my desires in so many of these people that we interview. Like you feel a community with these people, like a real kinship, that they are just on a path for goodness, right?
Yeah, exactly. And acknowledging that it comes from within first,
Hmm. Hmm.
so
Right.
That's great. That's true.
And how do your guests help listeners make the world a little kinder? Like the people that you select, I'm sure you go through a process, of who you want to bring on and the stories that you want to share.
How do we? I think accessibility and hearing. I think we're inundated. Do you agree we're inundated with just a lot of negativity and a lot of news and a lot of pundits these days? And for me, I feel that it helps people be aware that there's an accessible way to share love in very small ways. Some of the people we talk to are doing big, big things. And yet it all comes down to making a small connection just on a daily
Mhm,
basis, right?
mhm. Yeah, and I would answer this by this quote, um, focus on the good, and the good comes into focus.
Mhm.
So we are giving a plethora of wonderful things to focus on. And, every guest has a unique
Mhm.
facet to what that good is. And I think it's so inspiring to hear what someone else is doing good in the world. I think,
Yeah.
inspiration inspires inspiration. So that's
Definitely. And I
my
think
take.
that's a great way of putting it, that what you focus on also appears and
Mhm.
multiplies.
Right.
And so many of the people that we talk to, it really just comes down to loving another, seeing the commonality in each other,
Mhm.
and opening up your heart a little more each day.
And I would add to that, seeing that you are really a person from love
Right.
for love.
Yeah.
That's such an important message because I think a lot of us feel that, first of all, we're powerless, that we're insignificant, that we are just these little specks like Horton Hears a Who, and that we're not making any impact, because we're just one. But really, that's all it takes is maybe just one act of kindness during the day, or understanding what someone else is going through. And a lot of your guests, share their stories in such amazing ways. And you've had great people like Ed Begley Jr. and Henry Shookman, our favorite meditation guy, who I would say I would listen to reading the phone book because his voice is just so great. I would just want him to talk to me. I'd be immediately in a
Exactly.
zen space. But we need those kind of stories, and we need people to be inspired by hearing stories. And I think it's just something almost primal in a way, like going back to even caveman times. Like that's how information was spread, right, through stories and sharing. So it's so great that you're sharing that kind of information in the world. I mean, some other people you've talked to, like Lorna Byrne, author of Angels in My Hair, and Anita Morjani and Dying to Be Me. I mean, what are your own personal thoughts on those kind of esoteric topics like angels and
Mm.
the afterlife, things like that? Because you touch on that with a lot of your guests.
We do. You're 100% right. I think we do that to allow more than just the physical life be known.
Mhm.
That there is life is, in the physicality, and then and life doesn't die. It is an eternal expression. And interviewing some of these amazing people like Lorna, talking about
Mm.
angels or Lee Harris or Anita Moorjani. You know, they are tapping into something beyond our physical 3D realm, and I find that very interesting and supportive. So,
And I think even if you don't feel a kinship to that topic, I think there's something really important about listening to other people's passions, whether or not they are yours, whether or not you like agree even on some level. I think the world in some way has stopped listening to people that we don't agree with or don't. But I think there's something so beautiful, like Lorna Byrne. We hung up with Lorna Byrne and felt like we were floating, even though we came at the whole angel discussion from two different places, because she's so passionate and so sweet and so just wanting people to experience some of the goodness that she feels she's experiencing from these outer worldly beings. And there's something beautiful about that to me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is, and you pick up on their energy of what they're so passionate about, and it might spark something. Maybe you'll go down a path, that you need to go down,
Right.
and sharing something that you need to hear in that moment. And I think that's what a cool thing that I love about podcasting is that it can reach people all over the world at any time, and someone might hear the message that you're sharing at a certain time in their life that they really need it. And I think we do need those kind of messages now. Especially, more and more, it seems we're also cynical. There's so much cynicism out there in the world. So being able to share some good is so helpful. Do you have any special guests that, really impacted you personally with their story? I know we mentioned a couple of people that you've had on.
What do you think? I mean,
they're all great. It's like asking.
It's hard to pick.
Sophie's choice. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. There's not one that has really altered my life, but there are ones that, like I do love Henry Schuckman. I do have his app. I listen to his meditation.
Right. I love Rebecca Heiss, all about stress. I love Dr. Amy Robbins, right? I love her.
She's great.
I love Lee Harris. And they're all so different. And it's amazing that when you think about it, it's like the universe constructs this quilt. Like, let's say we all just wanted to help horses. Well, then all this other stuff would fall away. But it's amazing that one person wants to deliver lasagna to their neighbor. Another wants to talk to angels. Another wants to meditate. And it's all based in this beautiful soup of love, but they're all different. And you hang up just feeling like, what a gift this is to talk to these people,
And not only that, I think we hang up, we say goodbye with feeling that they're not really separate from us.
Right.
I mean, we have different interests, but there's like, wow, I would love to be friends with that person.
Yeah. And we have made friends with some of the people.
Yeah, we're so lucky.
And we see them and communicate with them, and you just feel like, instead of our lives going this way, they're really opening up.
Right. It is amazing when you can make those kinds of friendships and connections.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you think that as human beings, even though we may seem so divided and things are kind of divisive, I really think there is that core that we do want to help people. I think it's really part of our being. I mean, I'd like to think that, say there was a horrible, I don't want to say earthquake because I'm here in Southern California, that could happen, but something where, what if I fell down a hole, and if someone walked by, I would think that would be their, what's the word? The feeling like they would want to help, right? I mean, I would hope most people have that inside them.
I did fall. Right? We were walking
down a hole.
Close. I did fall, and I hit my face and my head, and Jean was with me. And all of a sudden, there was this whole crowd, and someone's offering me water, and someone's touching my knee, and someone's calling an ambulance. And Jean's the best person to have a crisis with because she's very calming and very on it, But it was so sweet that so many people stopped, and I was like, this is Inside Wink. They didn't know me, and two guys were going to carry me, down a hill. Like, it was so beautiful. And then I do the same thing. I know you do the same thing, right? We stop a lot trying to help people. I think I do.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to think that that's really at our core,
Right.
even though unfortunately we don't see that all the time, which is why it's so wonderful that you're sharing these stories on the podcast, and really getting down to sharing the good, because I think that we need to remember that that's really who we are.
Yeah.
To share the good, and that we do want to help, even though on the outside we may seem like we're so totally different and so totally divided. But Alison, I'm curious, I know Jean has a religious science background. Where did your background come from as far as like any spirituality or, how did you grow up with that?
I was raised in the Catholic Church. My father was agnostic. My mom was like a person that went once in a while. I went with some kids down the block in the Bronx, and then I also went to temple because I thought, oh, I like these kids too, so like maybe they're right, maybe. And then Jean and I started reading A Course in Miracles like 20 years ago or something. And then Jean had said, hey, why don't you try out the Church of Religious Science? And I loved it. And I love the idea of the commonality that they express, and the fact that you feel very connected to your source, and all paths to God, the divine, yourself, your soul, all paths. And I think it's been a real eye-opening for me. So it's exciting to be my age and still discovering stuff like this.
It is, when you start asking those questions and you're on the path, and I think things and people show up to teach you what you need to know, what you need to hear at that time. That's interesting. I had a similar background with a Catholic upbringing, and I always like to experience different traditions. Like, I love Seders when that comes around, and like food and ritual, I'm in, things like that. So I love to learn about what, different traditions are. And I do think everything all kind of leads back to the one, the one source. Then do you agree that you feel that we're all connected?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jean too.
Totally. We definitely do.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I see it.
I mean, you so see it when, if someone's happy and you're so happy for them. And then, if your cat dies, oh, I'm so sorry about that. I mean, and that's the thing, Diane, about talking to people that aren't just talking about the earth plane, that they talk about the spiritual side, because then there's more confirmation of our unseen interconnectedness.
Yes.
Versus here on planet Earth, we appear very, very separate.
And I think having the whole world come out of COVID, I don't really think we realize the impact of that isolation. We're very social creatures, and I think having gone through COVID as the world isolated us. And I think we began to sort of believe that story. I'm unsafe. I need to be away. Oh, and then we got into this whole sort of arena of what's going on in the country, and a lot. And I think all of that is valuable, and all of that is growth, and all of that is opportunity for expansiveness. But when you really come down to the core of it, we all want the same thing. We want to be heard. We want safety for our kids. We want to feel passionate about something, and we want to feel loved, I think.
Absolutely. Well, I love what you've been sharing and sharing on the podcast, and I've listened to some episodes. I mean, I love all of the guests. I mean, can you give us a teaser of some shows coming up? I've seen that you've got shows lined up, ready to go.
We do. We have
Any good ones?
we have Neil Donald Walsh, who wrote Conversation with God, that whole series, plus like 30, 40. I think Neil has penned 40 books.
That's amazing.
So he was wonderful. So that's coming down our pipeline, and
he was so interesting because when you Conversations with God was huge, is huge, and he's this guy, like he's just this beautiful guy and we always ask people, like, do you still get angry when you don't get a parking spot? And I love that people are also just humans. He was great. He was really fun to talk to.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking to the people that did the movie Sing Sing.
Oh, wow. No, I haven't heard about that. I look forward to that show.
Yeah, that movie is so beautiful.
Did you see that movie, Diane?
No, I haven't seen it.
So it's a great film, and basically it's how there's they use acting as a form of therapy to help heal the inmates. And it was filmed, I guess, in New York. I think that's where Sing Sing is, the prison. I have an associate that her husband was in the film, so we get to speak to them coming up, and so that's a real different.
And we're talking to Dr. Amy again.
Yes, we love her.
On a very special day for her. I won't want to give it away, but it was a very special day, and the amount of energy, that was really fun.
Yeah,
she's really, really fun. So she's great.
Some great stuff.
Yeah, she really melds science and spirituality. She's a psychologist, she's a therapist, and yet very spiritual bent.
Yeah.
And she's very interesting, really fun.
Well, it sounds like you've got some great stuff on the calendar. I have heard about that program, Sing Sing. I think it was either a Dateline piece or one of the news magazines. And it is amazing what they're doing with people that a lot of times society just wants to lock up and throw away and forget that, hey, these people are going to be coming back eventually, a lot of them. And that, we need to show a little grace. So I look forward to hearing that, because I have heard about that program. That's pretty fascinating.
It's great. There's a lot of inmates that are acting themselves in the movie. But it shows how acting helps facilitate healing by getting in touch with your emotions and your feelings. So that's a plug.
Interesting stuff. Yeah, good plug for them.
That's right.
Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us. And I want people that, if you want to share the good, if you want to feel the good and really hear stories that are inspirational, that are going to make you feel good, get away from the news, and listen to a positive podcast, make sure you hit follow on your favorite podcast app and grab Inside Wink, or head to our website, mindbodyspirit.fm. And we're so thrilled that you're a part of the network. And thank you so much, Alison and Jean, for joining me today.
And thank you, Diane and Tina and everybody, Tony, everybody, for doing this. It's such a beautiful idea that we need right now, this platform.
Absolutely. What you guys are all doing is so great. So we are blessed to be part of your team.
We're loving it. Well, thank you so much, and goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.